Hey, what's up, YouTube, and welcome back to the Barlo Zone, home of the one and only Demon Hunter King Kaido, himself sent to Azeroth. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope y'all feeling amazing. We're back this week. I just checked the spoilers. Pew did get those spoilers posted last night, so checked them out last night. Looked at them again this morning. Man, this God Valley flashback is cooking, right? Like, we've been given stuff to think about left and right all over the place. Creators have been feasting with ideas to talk about, right? And you know, I try not to talk about a lot of the things other people are talking about because I mean, when it comes to a lot of the good creators on YouTube, right? Like, we're all trying to make a video that gets views, right? We're all trying to get people's attention. So in order to do that, you really got to dig into stuff, do a lot of reading, a lot of research, go back and look at old panels or old arcs, old chapters, cover pages, color spreads, all kinds of stuff, right? So after a while, you get 2, 3, 4 creators talking about an idea. It starts to feel stale, like nothing new is being added to the conversation, right? So that's really why I try to avoid a lot of the big topics and big conversations that I feel a lot of people are going to want to talk about, because yeah, I try to get my reaction video to the chapter posted the day that the scanlations drop, right? Just because I read the chapter that day. I want to get my thoughts to y'all while they're fresh, not overcooked, not overbaked, anything like that, hot off the press, as it were. And in doing so, a lot of times I let my thoughts start to get wild, right? Like, kind of start to run all over the place. And I get a lot of seedlings, a lot of ideas for theories, stuff to research into, stuff to dig up, just overall just stuff to keep myself occupied. And honestly, man, reading One Piece has done me a lot of good as far as learning as well, because the amount of stuff you have to look up to be a theory crafter in this community, right? Because it's not just Japanese mythology, Japanese mythos or folklore or history or culture. It's the entire planet. So in order to really have a grasp of what you're talking about, a lot of times you have to delve into cultures not your own. So you get a chance to do a lot of learning. Now, the reason I bring all this up, and the reason I'm here today, I do kind of have a little theory I want to talk about at the end, but the theory isn't the reason I wanted to talk to you guys, right? Because I've been doing some digging and some research. I got a nice theory cooking about Sabo and the Reverie, what he may have saw or heard at the Reverie specifically, and why Vivi and Luffy seem to be the people that he feels the highest urgency to speak with at this point in time, after having been to Marijua, right? So I've been doing a lot of research trying to put together the answers to some of the questions that would come up with this theory that I'm putting together. And it got me thinking a lot about my theory crafting process. And because I was hoping to already have that video posted. I'm not going to lie to you. Anybody who's keeping up with the Tumblr is already aware that I've been talking about putting this theory together for a while now. And in the process of doing some of the research, I came across something that I thought was really cool and interesting, right? And I started talking about that on my Tumblr. Sorry, no DC cup today. Just got to get a... Ooh, coffee's getting low. But I had this other idea in theory I wanted to talk about, right? And I posed a question on my Tumblr: who's the main character of One Piece? And man, I spent a solid day and a half just putting together notes, making sure I had all my bases covered, questions that I thought would arise, answers to those questions. Overall, just, what I try to do. And I got to looking at the final product and sitting there thinking about, okay, now what kind of thumbnail would I do with this, or what kind of title would I do with this? Because, you don't want to give away everything in the title. I mean, sometimes you do. Like, I'm sure the title of this one's probably going to be How to Barlo Theory Craft, and a reference to my discussion later on in the video about the Oda Effect. So you're kind of going to get the basis of all of it, but you want to leave just enough that it sparks something in somebody's mind, like, oh, what does Barlo mean by the Oda Effect? Or, yeah, I'd like to understand the process Barlo goes through to come up with his theories. Something like that, where it makes somebody interested, but you still talk about what you are claiming to talk about, right? Which brings me to clickbait. And the reason I've put off a couple of theories recently, because, as I was kind of alluding to, I had put together what I honestly see as a pretty brilliant theory, really calling into question whether or not Luffy is the main character of the story. And I started thinking about it, looking at my notes, contemplating what I would think a good title and thumbnail for that would be. And I realized the only good title for that would end up being clickbait, because the long and the short of that theory is, while I did come up with some pretty good arguments for Kobe being the main character, I realized at the end it's no argument. Luffy is the main character of the story, regardless of whatever might happen at the end, whatever story might be being adapted, stuff like that. Regardless of how many puzzle pieces fell into place for my theory, it couldn't be argued that Luffy was the main character of the story. So me trying to argue and claim that, hey, Kobe's really the main character is clickbait. And, sure, I could have done it just to make sure I was hitting the schedule. I wanted to have a video posted yesterday at latest, day before, honestly. But I can't do it. I just, if I look at my thumbnail, or I, think about what I decide on the title for my video, and I'm all, you know what? I wouldn't click on that. I'd be looking at like, nah, that fool's crazy. You're just trying to get views. You're trying to get interactions. I don't want to feed into that. I'm not trying to support that kind of channel. So because of that, I decided, you know what? Yeah, I put in the work. I did, a couple days of hard research, digging into specifically A Journey to the West. And man, I learned so much about that book and that story that I hadn't known before, because of all the reading I had to do. I had to not only figure out, I mean, honestly, explaining Kobe as the monk was easy. Luffy as Sun Wukong, also super easy. Slotting in Pigsley, the water demon, and the horse demon were a little more difficult, but I figured it out. I managed to put all the pieces together so that this theory about Kobe being the main character would sound good, would be appealing. People would listen to it like, hey, you know what? Barlo kind of got a point. But I just, with stuff like this, and I'm pretty sure I crossed out the name, and I'm not trying to flame any other site. Hey, if another creator wants to do clickbait stuff, however you do your thing, you do you, boo. I'm not here to tell anybody how to do anything. I am the farthest from a good role model anybody could choose. I'm just out here trying to, keep the smile on my face, have some fun, and interact with the stuff that makes me smile and have fun, notably One Piece. Now, that being said, as I mentioned earlier, I did want to kind of talk about this term I use kind of regularly. I haven't used it on the channel yet, and I have noted I've gone out of my way to change up scripts and notes a bit so I don't reference this. Hey, sorry about that smash cut, guys. I realized that the heater kicked on, wasn't sure if the microphone was going to be picking that up, so took a break while that was running. Anyway, it was a topic that I noticed when I was doing scripts and stuff I was going out of my way to not bring up, because I really wanted to do a video where I addressed it. I made sure that y'all understood what I was talking about and meant when I said the Oda effect in a video. I didn't want to leave anything up to chance. I didn't want to make the reference and have another creator end up trying to explain what I meant before I got around to it. So, because this kind of connects to the idea, right? Like, in the beginning, I really wanted my channel to be covering more than just One Piece. Now, obviously, it's the big love of my life, so I was going to be covering One Piece. But at the time, I really wanted it to be about more. I wanted to be able to talk about, DC. Yeah, I might not know a lot about it, but talking about it would have given me a reason to look into it, research about it, and learn stuff from y'all talking to me in the comments. Or I want to talk about Marvel because, the MCU's kind of been up and down, but Marvel Comics is really popping right now. And the MCU might be trying to, nurture a little bit of a comeback. So being able to talk about that, or gaming stuff, because I'm a huge Dota 2 fan. I love where World of Warcraft lore is at right now. So talking about some of that also sounded interesting at the time. And I ended up settling on One Piece. It's where I got most of the reactions, people stopping in at the channel, at least giving me a chance to talk a little bit, right? Express my views and my thoughts. And I've had a lot of fun with it. I'm not mad at all that One Piece has become the focus of my channel, right? Like, please understand, I'm not complaining. I am so happy that y'all came around and gave me a reason to keep talking about One Piece because I love it. But when talking about One Piece or thinking about One Piece, before I present a theory, even on my Tumblr, because a lot of times I will go into some detail, share some of the insight I'm working on my Tumblr before I do my videos, right? Even before I do that, I will talk to my friend on Discord, or I'll talk to my roommate. They've been really good sounding boards. So if you guys are watching, I want y'all to know that I super appreciate both of y'all. Because whether or not they agree with what I'm saying, whether or not they understand what I'm trying to get at, they always have insight that helps me understand my thoughts a little bit better, which helps make sure I'm presenting a more clear and cohesive thought to you guys. But whenever I'm talking to them, I reference the Oda effect a lot, right? And why does that kind of connect to the idea? Because the Oda effect has affected my channel. I really wanted to talk about other manga series as well. That's why the channel's called Barlo Talks Manga. It wasn't just supposed to be Barlo Talks One Piece. Again, I'm not complaining. I'm really happy I get to talk about my favorite manga series on the planet. Honestly, One Piece recently has been challenging Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as my favorite reading material of all time. But outside of that, I wanted to talk about some other series, like Undead Unluck was a big inspiration. And hey, if either of the homies from Dofi Days are watching, big shout outs to you guys as well. Not just Undead Unluck and Kaiju number 8, but Dofi Days as a channel was a really big inspiration behind giving me the confidence to put myself out here. Now that was back a year ago, right? I really hope to see some more stuff from them. I check in on their channel from time to time just because, I miss the homies, Dalton and Darzis. Always had really good insight about their series, right? But, Kaiju number 8 was one of the series that I wanted to offer a little bit of insight as well through the format of video media, right? And Shoujo No, that was another big one that I had hours and hours of fun talking to friends about on Discord, right? A beautiful story that references One Piece in chapter 1, so they kind of stole my heart with the first chapter. But then you got stories like Icehead Gill. Now that one wasn't the Oda effect, and if y'all ever decide to say, hey, Barlo, try out this series or try out that series, please understand I will never read Kagurabachi because of Icehead Gill. I have no confirmation, but Gil was rushed to a finish, actually more so axed than anything, the week before Kagurabachi printed week 1, all that hype and everything around it. So in my mind, Kagurabachi killed Icehead Gil, and Gil was a way better story. So I will never read Kagurabachi, or if they make an anime, I will never watch it. Please understand, it's not that I don't respect your guys' input or your guys' recommendations. I have a prejudice against that series that is not going to be undone. But anyway, back to the Oda Effect. What is the Oda Effect, Barlo? When you reference the Oda Effect, what are you talking about, right? I am talking about great manga series that have absolutely terrible endings. Or maybe not terrible. I'm going a little too hard because of one specific series. But when I say the Oda Effect, what I mean is the fact that One Piece has become so big, so universal and global, that it could be argued Oda has more control over the Shonen Jump publication right now than Shueisha does. Now, no, I'm not saying Oda has control. If Oda said stop reading Shonen Jump, people would stop. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm meaning is, depending on how Shueisha and Shonen Jump handle the One Piece series, will affect the longevity, I guess, of the international publication of Shonen Jump. Now, I doubt Japanese fans are going to hop off the bandwagon if Shueisha decides to rush Oda through his ending, right? But there are a large number of fans, myself included, that would be deeply hurt if Oda was rushed through the end of his story, because the time we've committed to this already, right? Like, I'm sure there are people other than me who feel like this is a relationship with One Piece. Nothing romantic or nasty like that. What I mean is intellectually and emotionally, like, I am connected and attached to this story and the characters in it. When they feel pain, I feel pain. When Luffy is smiling and beaming and happy, I'm reminded of episode 1 of Fairy Tail and that Natsu smile, and I'm like, okay, yeah, stuff might be looking grim, but my boy Luffy's still up there. We gonna be okay. Like, that smile's still there. We got this. We gonna come out on top. But if they botch the ending, it's gonna damage the company, right? Like, if there's any feeling of being rushed with the end of One Piece, then a lot of people are going to be hurt and start to hop off the bandwagon. Now, by the Oda Effect, I mean the fact that Shueisha's not going to let that happen again. They're not going to let a series get so popular that anybody could argue that the creator of that series has any semblance of power over them as a company. As an example, I talk a lot of smack about Attack on Titan, right? And it's not because I hate the series. I loved that series. Everything about it. I started watching Attack on Titan about the same time I started watching Sword Art Online. Now, I'm gonna apologize real quick if you guys can hear that. I don't want to sit around for another 5 minutes and wait for it to turn back off. I'm gonna try to mess with the background music, keep the heater out of your guys' ears as best I can, right? But I really loved Attack on Titan. I don't remember what the first episode I saw was. It didn't resonate with me as much as the Sword Art Online one did. I want to say it was sometime in season 1 when they were starting the ODM training camp with Erwing and all that. Or Erwing. But after that, I hopped into reading the manga, right? Because the anime was really cool, and I'm like, dang, this looks good, but I don't like some of the art. Like, it wasn't bad. It just, when I was looking at it, I realized that it was fake. Like, with a lot of anime that I do watch, it's all okay. The world's full. Like watching feels like I'm part of the world and experiencing it, right? So I started reading the Attack on Titan manga, and boy, that shit was fire. I was all over the place talking about, man, Attack on Titan's the next Full Metal Alchemist. Y'all better get ready. This shit is popping. This shit's banging. And then the ending. And now I talk about it from time to time. I'm no published author myself. I'm no professional writer by any means. But I do feel a certain way about writers. And when you write the end of your story, it should be the end of your story. No, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy aside, that one, technically the books have the same ending. Technically the radio plays have the same ending. Yeah, I know there are little changes between each version. But, you know, it was published across multiple versions multiple times. But I don't know, with Attack on Titan, it's like, okay, you come out, you publish the ending of your manga, right? And then immediately you publish a second ending and say, hey, you know, that first ending was what I thought you guys wanted. This is what I really wanted to do as an ending. And then you come back, triple down, and do a different ending with your anime as well. Like, man, I cannot respect that. I cannot. But one day I was thinking about the Oda Effect, right? And I realized, okay, you know what? It might have been the first big example of the Oda Effect at work. Attack on Titan was getting huge. Like, it was massive all over the place. Honestly, at its peak, Attack on Titan probably compared with One Piece for popularity. Not a bad thing. That's really cool. Honestly, having more series that are really popular and popping is awesome, because that's just more stuff for creators to talk about, right? It's not everybody trying to hop on the One Piece bandwagon because it's the most popular ever. And so I've kind of started to hop off of my AOT hate bandwagon, right? But then you got series like Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, that was a weird one. I watched some of the anime. I read all the manga, but I didn't hate the anime. I doubt I'd ever go back, but I didn't hate it. But that was another one. The ending, like, please, who among you can say that they did not feel like the ending was rushed and they were thoroughly and properly satisfied with the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen? Like, please, if that's you, let me know in the comments. Let me know you guys were truly satisfied by the end of that story. And another example to bring up too that I really wanted to, you know, at least get a video in about, talking about Undead Unluck and Kaiju number 8. Two more series that were growing in popularity, that were really good, had awesome, relatively unique premises that they were working under. I say relatively because I genuinely believe there are no original ideas left. We're all just riffing off somebody else in our unique way. But the endings to those stories were obviously rushed. Like, you read through Undead Unluck or Kaiju number 8, you start coming into the final 10 chapters, you're like, okay, no, they're picking up steam, they're making the final push. It was obvious they were rushing it to the end because they caught a whiff of, oh, the end is in sight, let's punch that gas. And then Shoujo No. Now that was one, it wasn't hugely popular. It could be argued that Shoujo No wasn't the product of the Oda Effect, but it was another one with a really cool, relatively unique premise that was brilliant. It was emotional and it was action-packed. If you guys haven't treated yourself to Shoujo No, it is complete, so please do treat yourself to reading through that story. That was brilliant. I absolutely love that series, and I will go back and reread that multiple times. But the Oda Effect. I'm hoping y'all kind of have a feeling for what I'm talking about now. I guess the Oda Effect in short could be explained as a series getting so big that the parent company wants to rush the end for fear of it getting big enough to affect them as a company. And that's really where not only myself, but I have met other people in the community who have said they feel like Oda has sway with Shueisha because of how popular One Piece is. If they botch the end of One Piece, there are people I've talked to who have said, and honestly, I'm going to put it out there, if the end of One Piece gets botched, I might be done with manga as a whole. Like, it's been happening a lot lately. We invest our time in these series, right? We invest our emotional attachment, our intellectual attachment, our mental affinity. Like, we get attached to these characters, these stories, these worlds. Rushing the end is disrespectful to us because we're not getting the ending that we deserve with the time that we've invested. Novels have a bit of an advantage in the fact that they're published in their entirety. For the most part, a lot more series type novels have been getting popular lately, and that's really cool. But as fans, I guess, let's decide, are we okay with Shueisha and these printing companies rushing the end of stories because they don't want somebody to get as big as Oda again? Kind of something to think about, and it is my theory. That is the theory I was talking about, I was going to present to you guys. This isn't anything I can prove with hard fact. It's just enough has gone on in the presence of the massive franchise that Oda has created. I refer to it as the Oda Effect, so going forward, if I refer to that in my videos, I hope y'all have an understanding of what I mean. As always, though, let me know what you guys think of this one. This was a really weird one for my channel, but it was something I wanted to do because I wanted to explain to you guys a couple of things. Not only what I mean if I reference the Oda Effect, but why sometimes I will get excited about a theory on my Tumblr but never present it on my channel. I do not want to ever come to YouTube and present a video to you guys that is just going to be clickbait. It's just, you know what, I feel like grabbing that 30 to 50 views. Let me throw something up here that'll guarantee that the people who come to my channel click on my video. I ain't about that. Like, I want to bring quality content, something that I would be proud to watch, because I do. When I post my videos, I watch. Anyway, my phone's telling me I've reached the limit. I'm going to go ahead and duck out. I hope y'all have a brilliant day. Much love, friends.